Hello, welcome to this week's reading vlog, which will cover February 12th up through February 18th. Now let's see how it goes. Monday, so we're definitely finishing Limited Wish. If we can, we'll try to finish Dispel Illusion, but we're probably just going to read a bunch of manga, finish this early next week. Tuesday, February 13th. So you've been following this channel for some time probably. I cry pretty often when I read books, and I didn't quite cry while reading Limited Wish today, but tears brought to my eyes twice because I made some connections between the plot of this book and Mark Lawrence, the author's personal life. So not to get into any spoilers, because it's in like the first 2 pages of the first book, the protagonist of this trilogy has leukemia. And there's a time travel element. So he's aware that in some timelines he beats his disease. He survives to an older age. In some of the timelines, he has children. There's an infinite amount of timelines. Pretty interesting stuff. So while there's a time travel element to this story, we could, deduce that he's not going to die at the end of this trilogy, or at least we're hoping he's not going to die of his disease. But we don't know for sure. And Mark Lawrence does a very good job at writing and portraying the emotions one feels when they're encountering and facing death. And it reminded me of something, which is what brought tears to my eyes while reading. I remember reading an Ask Me Anything on Reddit from Mark Lawrence, and somebody asked him, how do you capture these strong emotions? And he said something to the effect that his child was born with a very critical, grave illness that they'll never recover from, they'll never be healed, and they just have to suffer through it. And he basically said that he's spent a lot of time in a hospital waiting room in tears, just dealing with his melancholy. And so in that way, I think this trilogy, though it is I think it's his least popular or his least best-selling trilogy, I think it's the closest to home. It takes place in the time period that Mark Lawrence grew up in. It covers a young man dealing with a lifelong illness that may or may not take his life. And there's a lot of passages about hope, but also a lot of passages about dealing with hopelessness. And it's just very moving. Thursday, February 15th. I hope you had a lovely Valentine's Day. Finished 2 books since I last talked to you. Limited Wish and the first volume of Pluto. Pluto is definitely going to be my priority manga series I'm going to finish. I'm probably going to finish it before the end of next week because I'm enjoying it. It's only 8 volumes. It takes place in the Astro Boy world. I'm not familiar with Astro Boy. I never watched the TV show, never read the manga. But you'd have to be living under a rock to not be aware or to know who Astro Boy is. And this is not really an Astro Boy story in that it follows that character really. It's a murder mystery that takes place in the Astro Boy world, and someone is killing prominent robots and humans in this world, people that are related to the equal rights movement between robots and humans, and it's a very politicized issue, and people are being killed and knocked off. And one thing I was very surprised by in Pluto is how I'm able to recognize the significance of the people being killed, despite the fact that I have no idea about the backstory or the histories of these characters in the Astro Boy universe. And it's just very cool how the author's able to capture those somber emotions when these characters die. There's already been 3 or 4 deaths in the Astro Boy universe of named characters that are well loved. And I can't imagine how visceral a reaction I'd be having if I'd read the Astro Boy series prior. But it's definitely not needed to understand Pluto because it's not really about the Astro Boy storyline. And I found out that Astro Boy is only 23 volumes long, so perhaps I'll pick up that old classic sometime in the near future if I enjoy this enough. Limited Wish by Mark Lawrence was really good. It ended in a very cathartic way, and it's the second installment in the trilogy, so I'm interested to see how the third installment goes. Mark Lawrence pulled off something I really think is cute when authors do it correctly. When the last line in the first book is the same as the last line in the second book and subsequent novels. I think it's a really cute thing if you could pull it off, and Mark Lawrence did that. If it's not too much of a spoiler. But yeah, pretty cute way to end this book. I picked up Dispel Illusion, the third and final installment in the Impossible Times trilogy. And then after I finish this, hopefully by the end of the week, I'll be done with this trilogy, which I learned is one of Mark Lawrence's more popular series. And I was surprised that my favorite series from him, the Red Queen's War trilogy, is his least popular one, which would explain why I never got any future installments in that timeline. So yes, finish up this Mark Lawrence series, and then probably read at least 5 volumes of Pluto, maybe a few Attack on Titan volumes. Gonna be a good week. Saturday. So Friday was pretty productive. I finished volume 2 of Pluto, loving it even more, and volume 4 of Attack on Titan, enjoying Attack on Titan even more. And then I came across 2 YouTube channels yesterday night, and I started watching their videos today. And they're 2 booktube channels, one that's smaller than mine and one that is infinitely more successful and larger than mine. Book Lover Laura is a channel that's technically smaller than mine, even though she has less subscribers. She has way better activity because most of my subscribers follow me because of the fighting thing. So I have to figure out a way to kind of either activate the subscribers or get rid of them. So if you have any ideas about that, let me know. She came across and she posted a video about like short story collections and novellas of Stephen King. And I got to thinking, I've never read any of his anthologies or really any of his novellas, even though I have 5 of the collections. So I'm definitely going to start reading some of his short stories today, maybe finishing some sort of short stories or novellas tomorrow. The other booktuber that very much inspired me was Jack Edwards. He has like 1.3 million subscribers on one channel and like almost 500,000 on the other channel. Just massively successful. I can't believe I've never heard of him, but he had so many compelling, interesting ideas for videos, and he's had such a good way, like succinct, direct, specific way of talking about books that I very much admire. So I definitely am taking some notes about what to do for the future of the channel. I have a bunch of video ideas planned out, a bunch of lists I have a bunch of list videos I have like planned for the future of the channel coming up next week. So yeah, today's the day I definitely got inspired. Tomorrow the plan is to finish the first 5 volumes of Pluto. I don't think I'm going to finish Dispel Illusion, but I have some Stephen King novellas I'm going to try, so I just got to pick one of his over 100 to give a go. Sunday, February 18th. I ended this week on a very strong note. Read 3 volumes of manga today, and I finished 1 novella from Stephen King. The novella I chose to read for today was Riding the Bullet, which you can buy by itself as an individual novella, or just buy his anthology, Everything's Eventual. It's much more cost-effective to just buy the anthology in its entirety. I think it's kind of janky for authors to, publish novellas and then sell you the same thing years later in a short story collection. But Stephen King has a reputation for doing that, so that's a bit janky. But Riding the Bullet was pretty dang good. I was a little worried because I have no experience with Stephen King's short fiction. Because from my experience, Stephen King is an author who's the master of stretching a 300-page book and making it 700 pages. And I think the parameters of a novella or short story really forces him to kind of minimize his weaknesses. So not a lot of fat. Riding the Bullet was pretty compelling because it tells the story of a young college student who gets a call from a neighbor that his mother had a stroke, so he has to hitchhike back to his hometown. Long story short, he gets picked up by a ghost, talks a lot about things like the love of a mother for her son, the struggles of a single mother, dealing with trauma, all those things, regrets. Pretty compelling story. I can't wait to tackle more of Stephen King's short fiction. The page count for this week is pretty dang good. 1,393 pages. Majority of that is manga. Outside of manga, I think it's only 198 pages in traditional, books/short stories. Finished 5 volumes of Pluto this week. Finished 3 volumes of that just today. Finished 1 volume of Attack on Titan, 1 short story, and 1 novel. So yeah, very happy with the work rate for this week. I am catching my stride. I really like manga. Not only does it pump up my page count numbers, I really think Pluto was perhaps the best first manga for me to finish. I only have 3 volumes left, and I think I should be finished with it by Wednesday. Yeah, and I got inspired by some other booktubers. I'm just in a really dang good mood, and it's not just because of Valentine's Day. So yes, this week was pretty dang good. I'm hoping next week will be even better. Thank you guys for watching this week's reading vlog, and I'll see you guys next time.